What is going on, good people? It's your boy Trouble T Roy, Get Kicks Wholesale at gmail.com. GETKICKZ WHOLESALE at gmail.com. Just figure I'll bring you a video. It's going to be entitled Debunking Info in the Sneaker Game. And this is fact over opinion. Getting a little tired about the inconsistency of information out here with a lot of YouTubers. I'm not going to go any by name because it's some that I'm pretty cool with that I don't necessarily agree with the information, if I can be completely real and honest. And it's some that I don't even fool with. I don't know them like that. That's just giving out inconsistent information. A lot of this stuff is clickbait. A lot of it's for views. I'm going to be honest with you. I've always have. You can go back, look at my previous videos and see. But I'm here to deal with these inconsistencies, man, and give you guys the truth. I even have notes right here because I felt like it was some crucial information that I definitely had to go over and expose and point out some things and to make you think. Remember, everything that I say that is fact is public information. I'm not going to do a lot of opinionated stuff in this video. I know my past videos, when it's opinionated, I tell you. But let me hit y'all with some facts, some stone cold facts that you can search publicly yourself. I'm not going to tell you where to get everything because that'll make you kind of devalue it. I don't want you to take everything I say as truth. I want you to take what I say, process it in your brain, research it, and you then determine for yourself. But again, when I say I'm bringing you fact, I am bringing you fact. Look it up. Whatever you got to do to look it up, Google it, go to stores, retail locations, do what you got to do. Read books, do what you got to do to confirm what I'm saying is fact. I'm not afraid that if you go looking and you might find the opposite of what I'm saying. No, that's not a concern of mine because that's not going to happen. When I say that it's fact because I research it first. So let's go. All right, about the inconsistencies with a lot of YouTubers. I know the sneaker game, a lot of people say it's chess, and not checkers. It's not as basic as checkers, but it's more intricate like a chess game. Well, tonight I'm turning chess into checkers. And you may see this video Monday morning, but I filmed this Sunday night. So tonight I'm turning chess into checkers. All right. Point number one, and I'm not doing this in no specific order. But point number one is retail pairs and replica pairs are made, right, in the same factories in most cases. Check this out. Nike contracts with different manufacturing companies, not just one. Okay? Let me give you more insight of how this works. They'll hire manufacturers based off of rate, how fast, they can produce, how many shoes they can produce and make in a certain timeline period. They contract with different factories that produce shoes. So number one, it's not one factory. So I definitely hope y'all didn't believe that. Again, you can research it yourself. It's multiple factories. Majority of these factories are in China. Right? I'll give you 90% of these factories are in China. The other 10% may be Vietnam, Indonesia, and lastly, possibly India. Okay? I may be missing one somewhere in South America, but majority, 90% of these factories are in China. Check the tongues on your kicks. You can see made in China, made in China, made in China. Occasionally you'll get maybe an Air Max that says made in Indonesia or made in Vietnam or made in India. Or like I say, maybe I think it's one more spot in South America. So with that being said, first and foremost, a lot of people consider shoes fake because of where they come from. So say if you're a reseller, I'll give you an example, and you don't buy retail. You go direct from wholesale or manufacturer. and somebody asks you where you get them from, you be like, man, I get them direct from China. And they be like, oh, that's fake. You can easily debunk that. You can say, go buy a retail pair of shoes right now. You can go cop a pair of Bobos. And what are they going to say? Made in China. So that's number one, debunking the theory that just because your stuff comes from China that it's fake. Most of these things, not just shoes, but everything you use, everyday use, electronics, clothing, toothbrushes, all kinds of stuff comes from China. Work is outsourced from American companies to China because the labor is dirt cheap. This specifically applies in this video to sneakers because that's what I talk about and educate about. But majority of the products we use and utilize every day, that's where they come from. You don't believe me? Look at the made in labels on everything you use. That is a fact. All right. So back to the contracting with different manufacturers. So Nike contracts with different manufacturers all over China. So it's not just one. They may not be all on the same strip. You get what I'm saying? They may be in different parts of China, different factories. Here's point number two. Fact number two. Different factories make different types of shoes. One factory may be contracted to make Jordans. Another factory may be contracted to make Air Max. Another factory may be contracted to make Foamposites. Another factory may be contracted to make Prestos. Another factory may be contracted to make free runs. Some factories make multiple styles like foams, Air Maxes, and free runs. One factory may do. One factory may do Jordans and Air Maxes. Multiple factories make different shoes. This is the reason why you see some wholesalers have certain things versus other wholesalers not having it, or they'll have something different. The reason why is because they're manufactured in different companies. Nike, nor most of the other brands either, whether Adidas, Converse, Asics, Puma, Reebok, whomever. They don't necessarily have one factory. I know for a fact Nike, Jordan Brand, and Adidas have significantly more than one factory that produces their product, their shoes. Okay? So, with that being said, if they come from multiple warehouses and multiple factories that Nike contracts, these YouTubers you see out here, nobody addresses or talks about this because this is the real truth. So, the same factory we just talked about, number one, the factory that makes the fakes makes the authentic. In most cases, you do have some factories that just reproduce shoes based off of blueprints that they may have had with the company prior to them having a contract. They may not have the contract with the company no more, but they're still reproducing shoes. Okay? It still makes it a UA because it's unauthorized authentic. They're still not, they're not authorized and have permission by the brands to sell these shoes, so it's still a UA. It's still a UA, right? So with that being said, the reason why these factories also make fakes with the real, along with the authentic, is because they want all the consumer dollar. These companies pay them pennies on a dollar, man. It's slave labor. Shoes are made for dirt cheap. The brands barely pay these workers, right? Any money. They barely pay these workers any money to feed their families on a daily basis. You know who really gets the money? It's not the workers. It's the factory owners who really don't get that much from the brands either. Okay? I'm going to put a link. Not this description or the next video I do, I'm going to show you guys a link to a documentary, right? Where you get to see into what's going on. It's not very popular because it's true. So, with that being said, the factory owners, they get the majority of the dough from the brands, okay? They pay their workers barely enough to make ends meet, like I say, on a daily basis. So with them getting paid little to nothing, why wouldn't they reproduce? They study trends just like we study trends. So why wouldn't they get paid? Why wouldn't they reproduce shoes knowing they're going to get, um, excuse me, a nice amount from the general public over here in the U.S. or in England or in Trinidad or wherever? Why wouldn't they do that to increase their monetary income? Why wouldn't they do that? That makes sense, right? Makes perfect sense. So they resell to the public shoes that Nike and Jordan brand or whatever the brands may say, you know what? We need you to produce 50,000 and they take 35,000. So that means they're sitting at that point on 15,000 shoes that they never hear back from the brands to push out to other stores. And this is after a while, after the trend dies down, maybe for that kick. So they sell it to the public. Or like I say, they have all of the materials and information to reproduce a shoe that they've sent to the brands after they've filled the contract. So they continue to reproduce the shoe and sell it to the public. Okay? This is how your boutiques that aren't authorized with the brands get their shoes. Your so-called consignment shops. Right? Because again, they're still UAs, but because they don't have the authority from the brands to be sold, but they're selling them to the public, to other businesses that aren't authorized with the brands. We're gonna make sense of this tonight. This is gonna make sense. And this is gonna debunk a lot of these clowns out here giving out false information intentionally for views, and that's confusing people. Stop lying to these people, man. I don't care if this video gets taken down. I don't care. I don't care what you call your shoes, whether you call them fake, fugazi, replicas. We're going to go over some definitions tonight, too, to make sure you're clear on what all of this stuff means. And people making up these stories based off of what they think and what they so-called hear. Okay? So, let's see. Oh, so we were talking about why they reproduce the shoes and sell them to the general public. So they want all the consumer dollar. So the authentic pair they make, hopefully, because they sell the authentic pair for more, which they can, they hope to push that because that gets them more money. But they also have a lower grade of shoe, what you call your obvious fake, made with different material that's misshapen, that things like that. For the consumer that don't have the money to buy the authentic, they have a lower quality for you. And guess what? In these sneaker warehouses and manufacturers, they don't just manufacture sneaks. Guess what else they manufacture? Purses, wallets, those handbags. Yeah, all that Louis stuff, the Gucci, designer shoes, Fendi, Balenciagas, whatever you call them, Christian Louis Vuittons. Yes. They're produced in the same factories, folks, because the labor is cheap. So these companies use these same factories. They use the same factories. Now, here's another pointer. One factory may lose a contract with Nike 1 year, but guess what they do? They contract with another factory. They just move around. That's it. Sometimes going back to the same factory after a certain amount of time. And depending on their workload and what they're able to do and what they're able to produce. Look at the All right, let's take a look at something. I know I'm a bit animated tonight, but it's because I'm tired. Look at retail pairs. For those of you that's cop pairs retail, look at your retail pair. Are they flawed? I'll wait. Are there issues with your retail pair? How often do you get a perfect set of kicks from retail pairs? Go to Champs right now. Go to Foot Locker, Foot Action. Go ahead. Go. Finish line. Kicks USA. How many of your pairs come perfect? Right. Majority. I'm gonna go bold on this one. I'm gonna say about 95% of your joints are flawed. Glue stains, stitching, right? Leather quality is shabby. The brands don't care because they know you gonna buy it anyway because of who they are. If they J's, if they Yeezys, they don't care. That first batch of 350 V2 Belugas were a mess. Retail. I've seen retail and UA pair. They were a mess retail. A lot of them. A lot of flaws. A whole lot of them. So if that's the case, my thing is these shoes are made by human hands, right? And machinery that's built by human hands. So mistakes are going to work their way into that process. If I'm lying, you tell me I'm lying. Put it right in the comments, because this video is going to piss some people off, and I don't even care. The difference between me and a lot of YouTubers is I'm not afraid to share this information, man. I don't care about views. This is educational. This is real sneaker education, which I've been doing since the start of my channel. And those of you that have been with me since day one, salute. You guys know the drill. So, let's go back to that. So these pairs are flawed. Thus the reason why it's so hard to tell the difference UA versus retail. Or you see something better UA than retail. Because if I'm selling to the public and I got the blueprints and the materials to make the shoes, I'm going to make sure their shoes are on point because I want them to come back. It's just good business. That makes sense. Why I'm going to jack up a shoe? If my shoe messed up, man, I'm not dealing with you no more. I'm cutting you off as a wholesaler, and I'm not referring you no business. None. When it comes to business, the Chinese are very serious. They don't play games. This is a fact. Business is no laughing matter for them. So they want to get the dollar and make sure they keep the dollar. So the good ones are going to make sure your stuff is in good standing. As you see, take a look. For those of you that have retail pair of some of the stuff that I've gotten wholesale, look at my previous videos. Compare if you still have your retail pairs to the stuff that I have. You see in my videos very few flaws because of the relationship that I have with my wholesaler. They want to make sure I take care of them and they take care of me because I refer a lot of business and I give them a lot of business personally. So why in the world would they flaw my shoes or send me flawed shoes that's worse than retail or B grade? Now, can they slip through the cracks? Absolutely. And they have. You've seen me say certain things about certain shoes if they were flawed. But be honest, majority of the videos you see my shoes on, did you see my shoes in? How flawed are they? Again, I'll wait. I'll wait. Also, we have people that have traveled over there that talk to their manufacturers and wholesalers, seen warehouses, seen work produced in the warehouses. So you're going to tell us that that's not true? We haven't? Come on, man. And you take it, like you hearing these cats out, they ain't even been over there. You just, because of what one of the wholesalers may sell to them, may say to them in an email or on one of them text apps. Just because they share that with you, man. Y'all don't even be knowing what really go on over there. Cut it out. Stop feeding people what you think is the truth and selling it as the truth. If it's opinion, say, hey, this is what I believe. May not be the case, but this is my thoughts on it. Don't be feeding it to people like it's the truth, man. And like I say, yes, they make different quality shoes because they want all consumer dollars, so they're going to have lower grades. And you just have pairs that were meant to go to retail that fail quality and control. Oh, and guess what? Quality and control is done over there in China, not here. So even B grades are going to pass some quality control and make it to retail. They have. It's proof. Look at videos on YouTube of people getting stuff retail. Straight B grades. And they're selling them retail. The brands don't even care. And yet cats want to knock people buying UAs. UAs are authentic. I'm not going to call my UAs fake. Not going to happen. I'm not going to call them retail because that's flat out lying. I'm not calling them fake. All right. You know what? I got some notes here. Let's go over some definitions. And just to show some of y'all, man, y'all cats that use this slick with the terminology and the wordplay, cut it out, man. Cut it out, man. I'm from the streets just like y'all. I know slick talk when I hear it, man. I know how to read in between lines. I'm not afraid to say what it is that needs to be said. And I ain't saying nothing in code. I'm saying this straight up. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look at some definitions tonight, right? Just in case you didn't know, if a shoe that you have isn't an OG from when it was produced that year when Mike was playing, or even when Mike retired and he kept releasing shoes and it wasn't from that year, guess what? They call them retros. They're not OGs. Every single pair of new Mikes you buy after the reproduction of the first one is called a replica. So yeah, even in retail sells replicas. All right? Let me prove that to you, right? According to dictionary.com, and you can look it up in Webster if you want to get a little deeper. This is the definition of a replica. It says a copy or reproduction of a work of art produced by the maker of the original or under his or her supervision. Number 2, any close or exact copy or reproduction. Every pair of J's right now that's retro, that's called a retro, is a reproduction. So every one of y'all that don't have an OG, because if you have an OG, it's probably falling apart. You're rocking a replica, even if it's retail pair. So let's get definitions straight. Let's kill all this slick talk, man. Every one of y'all, me, you, whomever, you're wearing replicas. Unless it's an OG, you got a Jordan 1 that's from 1985. That's an OG. That's not a replica. Anything after that that was reproduced, if remade, say 91, 92, replica. From that point, any copy of the original is a replica. Just to show y'all, I'll give you an example. Champion. They used to make jerseys before Mitchell Ness and all that. Champion had the authentic jersey and the replica. The authentic Champion jerseys had the sew on and stitching letters, and the replica had what? The print, the screen print letters. Was the replica jersey fake? I'll wait. No, it just wasn't the authentic with the printed. It wasn't a fake jersey. It was a real jersey. It was just a reproduction, a copy of the original with the sewn on letters that the players played in. All right. So now let's look at the definition of fake. We're gonna have some fun tonight. All right. The definition of fake here. Let's see. Where is it? Here we are. Let me see here. The definition of fake according to dictionary.com, and again, you can look it up in Webster. There's multiple definitions here. It says anything made to appear otherwise than it actually is. Counterfeit. So UAs, unauthorized authentic. And this is the last time I'm going to go over UAs again, right? Unauthorized authentic. Is that made to appear otherwise than what it actually is? No, they make it to look like what it's actually supposed to look like. Dummies. Stupid. Anything made to appear otherwise, right? Now look at the fakes. Let's talk about the ones made with the other materials and things like that. That's obvious. It don't look exactly like the same as the authentic, does it? Things are obviously off that you can see with the naked eye. Material, the feel, the look of it, it obviously appears otherwise than what the actual authentic is. Come on. Stop playing these games, man. I'm tired of the slick talk. Y'all cats, man, for views and clickbait. This thing community, man, a lot of y'all, I almost called y'all something, man. Y'all sorry. Y'all are sorry. So in essence, retail pairs, guess what? They aren't so special. You know what makes them special to people? Mentally, it's a psyop. It's a psychological thing. It's because you bought them from a store that's authorized with the brands. All right? That's what makes them special. But what happens when your UAs are the same exact or better? You know why they're not special? Because we get them direct from manufacturer. Yes, actual manufacturers that were, and probably some of them still are, contracted with Nike and Adidas and all the brands that you are familiar with. So, all right. I'm about to end this video. I've held y'all up enough, man. Hopefully this was informative. But let's get to the question debunking all this, right? If UAs were such a big deal and they're so frowned upon and so fake, right? Why don't the brands do a lot more seizing of counterfeit products if the market is so flooded with fakes, fugazis, whatever you want to call them, 98%ers, whatever? How come you only hear of a story once in a blue moon of a seizure of counterfeit, quote unquote, counterfeit shoes? How come this isn't always happening? How come the brands aren't putting stops to this? They could stop these right in the tracks in customs and be like, no, these cats ain't authorized with Nike and Jordan brand. How come? If we want to get in the real versus fake game, tell me that. And say, when you come at that, you got to give me facts. Because you only hear of certain seizures. Maybe occasionally somebody have a pack coming, it'll get seized. And that's normally because the paperwork isn't right from the wholesaler, not because of the actual shoes. Because if that was the case, all of us that go direct from manufacturer, all of our stuff would have been seized. Every single package. How come it doesn't happen? And how come you only hear about this big seizure once in a blue? Like the most recent one that happened, I think one happened here in Philly, and I think one was in Chicago. How come you don't hear about this on an every day, every week, not even every month basis? Right? How come these boutiques and all these resellers get their packs? I mean, hundreds of pairs too. Obvious amounts of pairs that they open these boxes and monitor them. How come? How come? Where's that line? Where's that line that blurs or that line that shows the difference between UA and retail? Where is it? Where is it when it comes to shipping them here and the brand's not stopping counterfeit products coming through? And you only hear about the stopping of counterfeit products once in a blue moon. Why? How come? Somebody explain that to me with facts. Stuff that can be proven. I'm not calling my stuff fake unless it's obviously fake. Think about it. Think about it. Remember, the trademarking laws are different over here in the U.S. And if you think the brands don't know, come on, man. You think the brands have something to do with it. I'm not going to go too deep. I'll just leave y'all with that. Food for thought. Do your research. Do your homework. So I'm calling what I have what it is. It's authentic. And the case is just unauthorized. I don't know what else to tell y'all. I'm not calling it fake because it's not a fake unless I have an obvious fake, which I would show you and tell you that it's an obvious fake. And you'd be able to tell yourself that it's an obvious fake. And lastly, before I leave y'all, man, more food for thought. All right? Say you get authorized with the brands and you still buy UAs from a wholesaler. Does that make your shoe authorized? You get authorized with the brand, you still comping from a wholesaler. You still copping kicks from a wholesaler, putting them in your store, your authorized store. And say they're general releases. So say a Nike rep comes check up on you. You know, you just got a few general releases. You can't tell the difference. Because you can't tell the difference. Does that make it authorized? Because you got that paperwork saying you authorized or that license saying you authorized? Food for thought, man. Again, don't believe everything you hear, man. It was a saying that says, believe, what is it? None of what you hear, half of what you see. I completely understand that phraseology now. I get it. I get it. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. And that's just a statement. Of course, you believe some of what you hear. But the point of what it's saying is a whole bunch of jargon is going around. And sometimes that jargon that goes into your ears makes you think what you see is true until you look a little bit deeper. That's the whole point of that phrase. But I get it. I see it. I study this stuff. I've been doing this for years. Longer than a lot of these cats that's on YouTube with this YouTube fame. It's corny. Corny. Again, my channel is only going to grow to a certain point because it's telling the truth. I'm good with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. So I'll leave y'all with that, man. It's your boy Trouble T Roy, getkickswholesale@gmail.com. GETKICKZWHOLESALE @gmail.com. Instagram and Twitter is the same. Follow me. Get Kicks WS and the number one. GETKICKZ WS and the number one. And I'm out. Peace.